Okay.
There
All
we
right,
go.
guys. Well, welcome tonight to the autoimmune workshop. We're going to go 60 to 90 minutes. In the past, this talk we did it over 3 days, and we're kind of condensing it down into this workshop. We used to do it over 3 days, and it was hard to get everybody to show up every day. So we condensed things down like the goods. And so let's fire up the slide deck here. Let's say a prayer to the computer gods that the technology works. Okay. So, all right. So welcome to the autoimmune workshop. This is Dr. Ben, as you probably have seen on social media. I'm a real person in real life too. Hi, hey. So tonight's workshop is for you if you are open to a new experience or a new perspective your doctor is not likely given you. In fact, you're probably here because you don't like the perspective that your doctor has given you. You want to learn more about the root cause and how to treat it, and you're sick of going the medical route and not getting results with it, and you're open to making long-term changes to your diet and lifestyle in order to get those results, okay? Tonight is not for you if you're closed-minded to new information that may conflict with what you've been told. You want to stay on prescription medications for life. You're looking for a quick fix pill or powder or potion. I don't have any of those. So if you think that that's what it's going to be, I'm just going to, at the end of this, offer you a can of Autoimmune Be Gone. That's not how this is going down. And if you're not open to, if you're against making changes to the way you live in order to get healthier, if that's too much work for you or not something you're enthused about, probably won't get a lot of value out of tonight. So I'm just there. You've been forewarned. So what we're going to do, what's this workshop going to entail? What are we doing tonight? So we're going to talk about the story behind autoimmune disease, what the heck it is. I might need to mute some people. What autoimmune disease is, where it comes from, what causes it. And let's see, I'm just gonna, I need a co-host. If anybody wants to volunteer to be co-host to mute people, that'd be awesome. Okay, so where it comes from, what causes it, right? Because medical doctors are usually telling you, and scientists are telling you, oh, we don't know, it's genetic, or we don't know, just magic. Why the mainstream medical community has such a hard time both treating it and even diagnosing it, like even telling you that, oh, we figured out what's wrong with you. I hate to use those words, but what's wrong with you, what disease you have. That's hard for them to do. And then once that they figure out the disease, then the treatment that they do doesn't work out so great. And if it did work out great, I probably wouldn't be here. Most of y'all probably wouldn't be here because the problem would have been solved. And then how to actually heal based on real life stories of myself and my students. And then if you're interested in getting help with this and healing yourself, there'll be an opportunity to go deeper at the end. Okay. So who is Dr. Ben? All right. So a little bit of backstory on this. There's me in 2010. I was not always a doctor. Back then, I was an engineer at a microchip company. And you can see there, I'm actually in Austin, Texas.
Dr. Ben, I'm not seeing anything on the screen. I have just a black screen. Is there something I can do to see it?
Is there anybody else who has a hard time seeing the screen? Can we type in the chat? Because you should be able to see everything. No one else has said anything about not being able to see. Nimue, I'm sorry. I don't know what the tech issue is on your, everyone's saying they can see it. So, must be a tech issue on your side. I don't know what to do. Okay. So anyway, Nimue, just imagine me, 13 years ago, right? I pretty much look the same, just a few years younger. And so this picture of me is right on the Colorado River in Austin, Texas. And behind me is a company called Silicon Labs, which is a microchip company that I worked for. And I'm smiling in this picture. I look super happy. But let me tell you, I am not doing so hot here. In 2010, my health really started to tank. And it started out kind of innocently, just noticed I was tired, noticed I didn't have the energy to get through the day. Then things started happening where started developing a rash on my hands, started developing really bad digestive issues. My body would ache and be sore all the time. And this was at like 27, 28 years old. And initially I just chalked it up to like, oh yeah, I'm just getting old. I'm just getting old. Oh, ha, ha, ha. I'm in my late 20s now and I have health issues. But it really ballooned up to where I had eczema like all over my hands. My chronic fatigue was so bad. I was knocking back like 2 to 3 Monster Energy drinks a day. Yeah, I know. It doesn't sound like me. My chronic pain was pretty much all the time. It was like a 4 or 5 out of 10, pretty much all the time. My digestion was that pretty much every meal that I ate made my stomach want to blow up. And I had all kinds of constipation, diarrhea, all the stuff you don't want to hear about at dinner time. I had going on really bad. And so what I did was eventually it got to the point where it was like a, red-blooded American male. I say, oh yeah, I should probably go to the doctor, right? And I remember going and them being like, okay, well, this doesn't really sound like anything in particular, but we'll just send you to the gastroenterologist to get your stomach checked out, and then we'll send you to the endocrinologist to get your thyroid looked at, and then we'll send you to the dermatologist to get your skin looked at. And so I'm getting sent to like 3 or 4 different doctors, and each one of them is running their own labs and trying to figure things out. And some of them are telling me everything looks normal. Some of them are saying, oh yeah, it's just this, get on this medication. And I'm doing all this stuff, and I'm going to like a gajillion doctor's appointments, getting just passed around, and not really feeling any better, not getting any better. Medications don't seem to do anything. Some of them have side effects. No one can really give me a diagnosis. They're just kind of like, it might be this, take this. We don't really know, right? The labs are showing up normal, and I'm getting pretty frustrated because it's like no one's really taking me seriously. No one is like saying, hey, Ben, we don't know what's wrong. We can't figure it out, because they didn't have the ego to admit that. But we're going to figure it out. And I'm not going to rest until we do and figure out what's wrong and figure out how to get you better. Nope. It was just sort of like, I can't try this, see what happens. See me in 2 months and talk to this guy instead. I don't know. And so after about 6, 8 months of just kind of getting passed around by the system, eventually I was like, this is not working for me. Like this is like, I'm getting worse, right? Like my energy and my chronic pain to the point where it's like, I can barely work. And my boss at beautiful Silicon Labs there takes me into his office and is like, Ben, what's going on with you? I don't understand. You used to be one of the top performers on the team, and now it's like, you're missing work and you're just inconsistent, and you like look like just awful every day. Like you look like you're just having a horrible time. Like what is going on? Like something's got to be up. And I didn't really have an answer for him. I was like, yeah, I just got a lot of health problems going on, and I don't really know. And he's like, well, what have they diagnosed you with? And I'm like, they haven't, and he's like, well, man, I don't know what's gotten into you, but if like, this doesn't shape up and you don't get better, like come January, you're going to fail your performance review, which is basically code for, we're going to give you a performance review at the end of the year, and you're going to fail it, and then you're going to get fired. And so that kind of, among other things, lit a fire under me. It's like, man, I'm not getting answers. And if this gets worse, like I'm in serious trouble here. Not only is my health I'm gonna lose my job, it's like I wasn't really hanging out with friends because I just didn't feel good all the time. I never wanted to go out, be social. I'd always have to cancel plans because I just was never feeling good. And so my social life had really deteriorated. I was really in a bad place. And I kind of just got to the point where I was like, man, this like medical system is not going to help me. I must have some unique disease that they've never heard of, that they just don't know about. And so I've got to figure it out on my own. And, I had a science background, I had an engineering background. I was like, I'm going to dig into this. And so I became like basically a mad scientist. I mean, I was like massively self-experimenting, reading, researching, but also trying things, trying to figure out how to get better. And it was a lot. And I really came from a place of like do or die. I don't know if any of you guys have been in that place with your health, or you currently are. You can type do or die in the chat. My heart goes out to you. But I remember like reading information. It was like, oh, if you just eat healthier, like a lot of these problems can go away. And I thought, well, that's a cool idea, but not for me. Like I'm going to figure out something different, because I am not changing what I eat. Okay. Not doing that. But eventually got to the point where none of that stuff worked. And as I reluctantly changed my diet, I started to notice change. I started to notice improvements. And then that became mad scientist mode of like, okay, how do I get this to like, you know, even better so that I can actually fully, at the beginning, all I wanted to heal was my digestion. Like I thought everything else was just kind of a consequence of quote unquote getting older. But it went into mad scientist mode and basically had to figure out how to heal myself. There just wasn't the information out on the internet that there is, you know, today. So we'll get into more of that and how all of that works. Okay. But that's just give you some background that I was a patient before I was, you know, helping people. This comes from a place of not just like, oh, hey, autoimmune disease. Like that looks like a good way to make a living. No. I dealt with this myself. So let's see if we can get this working better. Okay. Technical stuff. Okay, figure out. So what is autoimmune disease? All right. It's a modern epidemic. Okay. It is affecting a lot of people. All right. And statistics show that about 25 million Americans are diagnosed with an autoimmune disease, and there's another about 25 million or so walking around undiagnosed. Okay, so about 1 in 7 people. There's 50 million total, and there's 350 million in the U.S. There's different diseases for each organ system. And so what happens is the immune system attacks the body's own cells. Now, some people will say that's not going on. That's not true. I don't think it's doing it intentionally, and we can talk more about that. But for whatever reason, the immune system is attacking the body's own cells, and we find that when we suppress the immune system, kind of makes the problem go away. Of course, there's consequences of suppressing your immune system. We'll get into that. And here's the thing: is that I'm not hearing it on the news because they haven't been able to tie it to a body count, right? Like they haven't been able to say, oh, all these people are dying of MS, or all these people are dying of Hashimoto's disease, or all these people are dying of rheumatoid arthritis. No. People are suffering. You know, they're living a life, an unhealthy, unhappy life. They're suffering, but they're not really dying. You never hear of like, oh, what did he die of? Lupus. Like it happens maybe late stage, 30, 40 years in when your kidneys fail. But for the most part, like it's just leading to a life of suffering. So it's not really making the news, right? Like unlike other things that make the news. It's funny. I've been teaching this workshop for probably 6 or 7 years at this point. It's like, it's like, oh, if there's not a body count, it's not making the news. And then like a disease with a high body count or an alleged high body count made the news. And there we go. Okay. So what are the main symptoms of autoimmune disease? So there's really 5 main symptoms. Okay. There is fatigue, some kind of chronic fatigue, brain fog, muscle or joint pain, or some kind of chronic pain. And it's like, okay, maybe it's affecting the uterus. Well, that's a muscle. There's muscle pain there. Depending on which part of the body the immune system is attacking, there's often pain there. Digestive issues. There's almost always a leaky gut component. We can talk more about that. And then there's usually some kind of sensitivities, whether it's to chemicals, whether it's to hot weather, cold weather, food, smells, many things possibly sensitive to. Emotions. Anybody type in the chat, me. I find that generally people with autoimmunity, their nervous system is in such high defense that's why they're sensitive to things, since they can be actually sensitive. Like any empaths in the room, you can type in the chat empath. I would it always seems to be a few. So if that's you, you're in the right place. And so this is just the front end. Like this is the 5 main symptoms that you deal with and how it affects your life, kind of like in the outer world, but like in the inner world. So we got someone asked, will there be a replay? She probably dropped off, but Laurel, yes, there will be a replay. We're recording it, and I'll try to get that out by tomorrow morning. So yeah, if you got to drop off tonight, it's okay. But it's fun because there'll be Q&A and there'll be live engagement. So stick around. So this is the front end. This is like what we deal with, like symptom wise. But what I want to invite you guys to consider is that there's a whole other thing on the back end. Like there's a whole other way that it affects your life. Okay. Like having an invisible disease, going to doctors and them saying, well, I don't know what's wrong with you. Here's the thing. It's like, it's invisible. Like if you can look at people's photos on this, or look at people's Zoom screens. Like you can't tell what autoimmune is if they have one, which one they have just by looking at a picture of who's got ankylosing spondylitis, who's got rheumatoid arthritis. Like you look normal on the outside. So what does that mean? Well, you're suffering on the inside. You're in all this pain and discomfort and misery, but you look like nothing's wrong with you, right? So your friends, your family, and even your doctor is just like, well, you know, you don't look like anything's wrong. You know, it's kind of like mental health. Like you don't look like anything's wrong because the problem's internal. So they don't really take you seriously. They don't understand that you're in a lot of pain. Like if your arm had been ripped off or you've broken your arm and they're like, oh, you must be in a lot of pain. You broke your arm. You know, but if your joints are eroding away and they're painful, like they can't see that, you know? So what happens is people don't understand. And so you're like walking around, people like think that you're okay and are baffled that you're hurting and almost don't take you seriously, right? Which just makes it worse. Anybody experience this? Just type me in the chat. You feel like your body is in control of you instead of you being in control of it, right? So it's like I was saying, like social wise, like I just didn't want to go out. I didn't want to, you know, be like, okay, well, we have plans to hang out with the friends tonight, but then it's like 7 o'clock rolls around. I'm like, you know what? Body just doesn't feel good. I don't want to go out, right? And so then it's like you're trying to, you know, run your own life, but the body's like, nope, not doing that today. Nope, not today. No, not tonight. No, not this morning. Not feeling like it, right? And so then it's kind of controlling you and it calls the shots rather than like you kind of being like, let's go out and have fun. And the body's like, okay, yeah, let's go. The body's like, no, not having fun. No fun tonight. Not feeling good. So, okay. And then, so not being able to show up for the things that you love, that you care about, whether it's your friends or maybe it's your family or your kids or your partner or things that hobbies that you're passionate about, or your business or your job, just like flying the flag at half mast and like, you know, suffering and getting by, not dying, but not really being fully engaged in life. And then the last thing is just like feeling like you're stuck like this, right? Like feeling like, you know, like it's never going to get better and you're just kind of stuck and you're going to live the rest of your life, like kind of just flying the flag at half mast, right? And feeling like, you know, no one understands, no one gets it, doctors can't help me. I'm just kind of stuck in this place where no one even takes it seriously and I'm sick. So that's the stuff that I dealt with. And I know talking to hundreds, if not thousands of people over the years now, it's like a lot of people are dealing with this. So let's see. So what is the cause, right? Like why is the immune system attacking the body? And so I think I didn't touch on this last time, but basically these autoimmune diseases, it's like, you know, it attacks different parts of the body. Like if it's, you know, but it's the same thing. It's the immune system, right? So if it attacks your joints, it's rheumatoid arthritis or ankylosing spondylitis or lupus. If it attacks your brain, it's MS, it's multiple sclerosis. If it attacks your intestines, it's like Crohn's disease for the small intestine, attacks the large intestine, it's ulcerative colitis. Like they got names for this stuff, right? But it's all the same phenomenon, right? And so doctors, you ask them, well, where does it come from, right? And they're like, well, we don't know, it's unknown. Or they'll say it's genetic, right? 1970, the rate of autoimmunity was 1 in 10,000. Okay, now like we talked about, the rate is 1 in 7. So it's increased like, you know, 2,000 times as much, or, you know, 1,000 times as much or more. And they're saying, well, it's genetic. Like, how do you explain that? Like, there's just bad genes just kind of jump into the gene pool. Like, what the heck happened? It doesn't make sense that it's genetic, right? It's all these things diseases are becoming more, obesity, you know, it's just genetic. It's like, look at survey humans, you know, 50, 60 years ago, there's almost no obese people, but somehow it's genetic. That doesn't really add up, right? But it's a way for them to sort of advocate responsibility to your genes. It's like, oh, you have no control over it. You're just a victim. You're just a victim. It's just your genes. There's nothing you can do. Take our drugs, you little victim. So it's really disempowering. Here's what we do know. Okay, I'm not saying we know the cause of autoimmune disease, and it's this. It's multifactorial, meaning that there are many things that seem to contribute. And so the two things that seem to contribute the most are trauma and extreme stressors. So going through a traumatic experience, a really stressful part of your life, losing a loved one, going through a relationship change, having to move, losing a job, things like that can trigger it or exacerbate. And we'll talk more about that. And then exposure to environmental toxins. It seems to be that toxicity plays a major role, whether it's food you ingest, chemicals you're exposed to via like the air or the water or injected into you, or medications or any of that. Toxicity seems to play a major role. And we notice this because when we begin to actually heal people, they have detox reactions, which are pretty crazy. We might have some time to talk about that. And so, like, where do these toxins come from? Well, a variety of places. There's still these barbaric practices in some parts of the world. Well, actually what they'll do is they'll inject your body with toxins to try to bolster your immune system into being stronger. I'm sure you guys are familiar with this. It's called vaccination, and it's pretty much, a worldwide phenomenon. I think one of my Instagram followers just messaged me saying that her mom is getting her 6th shot this week. So crazy. So anyway, how do we know that this stuff causes autoimmune disease? Well, if you read the scientific literature, if you read the studies about the actual vaccines, and I don't have to like bleep that word out because I'm on my own Zoom channel where they can't censor me. If you read the actual studies, this is for the Gardasil vaccine. Okay, this is the HPV vaccine study. If you read, I think this is page 9, or at least table 9 in the study, it shows that people who got all 3 shots had a 2.3% chance of developing a systemic autoimmune disease. Okay. Now they have this bogus placebo where they're like, oh, well, people who got the placebo, like also, got autoimmune disease as well. Their placebo had aluminum in it, which is neurotoxic. Okay. So it's like, we know this is going on. Okay. Like aluminum is never found in the human body. There's never, like, until we started mining for it a few hundred years ago, humans had no interaction with aluminum. And so anyway, this is the way that they kind of needle a sign and make it look like, oh no, it's everybody has a 2.3% chance of developing it. That just happens to you. Like, okay, so in a 6-month course of time, 2.3% of people just spontaneously develop autoimmune disease. Well, if that was the case, within, it was like within 20 years, everybody would have an autoimmune disease, because it's like 2.3% of the population every 6 months. Well, you divide, 100 divided by 2.3 is about 40. 40 times 6 months is 20 years. Boom, everybody's got autoimmune disease in 20 years. Well, that we know that's not the case. Okay, but this is how they lie. This is how they fudge the data. Okay. All right. Yep. And someone says, had that one. Yeah, this one is, I mean, up until the most recent one's probably the worst out there. We can go down that rabbit hole, but anyway, you're getting exposed to toxicity, and this is something that, people like ask me, like, how did I get into this whole like medical freedom thing? It's because I was researching autoimmune disease, where it came from, and I kept tripping over vaccines in the data. And I was like, this can't be true. This can't be true. But the data kept showing it. And then this study was like, it was like irrefutable. So that's kind of how I got involved in this stuff. I was just really intellectually curious about the cause of autoimmune disease, and it's hiding in plain sight in the literature if you just read it. Not that this is the only cause, obviously, but it is a contributor, right? And so stress is another thing. Anybody here ever go through a really stressful experience in life, and they found that their autoimmune disease, either that's when it started, or that's when they had a flare and it got way worse? So just type me in the chat if that's you, because I definitely have had that go on. So, yep, me, yep, both. Yeah. Okay. And we'll talk more about this. Like, why does that happen, right? It's like, well, because the nervous system is the system that you experience stress through. Okay. And so, like, the nervous system interprets things going on in your life as stress, and you feel stressed, right? Well, here's the thing, that nervous system controls and coordinates every system. Yeah, everybody's raising their hand like, yep, that's me, right? Yeah, totally. So no, you're not alone on this. The nervous system controls and coordinates every system in the body. And so if it's under stress, it's not functioning as well. Well, guess what? When we talk about every system, it also regulates the immune system. And so if you are very stressed or traumatized, your nervous system can't regulate your immune system as well. Hence, leading to or exacerbating, making worse autoimmune disease. You know, and it's interesting because it's like the vaccines. Well, what do? Well, they're designed to modify your bolster your immune system, right? They're designed to modify your immune system. But what do we know about all pharmaceutical drugs? What do they have? Side effects. So it's affecting your immune system, but it's going to cause unintended side effects. Could it cause the immune system to do something it doesn't normally do, which is attack parts of the body? Oh, maybe. Oh, wow. Interesting, right? Is this coming together, guys? Is this making sense? Okay. So, all right. So let's talk about the mainstream medical community. Oh, we're right on time here. This is awesome. We're cooking with gas. We're doing really good. So why is diagnosis so hard for the mainstream medical community? Why is it anybody here? Like I literally never got a diagnosis, ever got a formal diagnosis. Anybody here need did it take like more than a year, or 2 years, or like, in some people's case, like 25 years to finally get a diagnosis? Anybody go through that? 3 years. Yeah. So you had stuff going on with you and the doctors were like, we don't know what's wrong. Let's run some more tests. And so it takes them a while, right? To figure it out. Okay. And it's not because they're like stupid or anything, but it's just the way that they look at the problem, right? And this is maybe a quote that I need to put in the slides, but Stephen Covey, the guy who wrote 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, once said that oftentimes the way we see the problem is the problem. And so modern medicine is subdivided into siloed into things that we call specialties, right? Oh, and so Rosa says, hey, I've been told I have Graves' disease, but they're still not even sure if that's really it, right? Like, we don't know. Let's just put you on this. Let's see what happens. So anyway, they're subdivided into these specialties, right? So you got the cardiologist who works on the heart, and you got the nephrologist who works on the kidneys, and you got the orthopedist who works on the joints, and you got the blanking here. You got the anesthesiologist who does anesthesia, and you got the nephrologist who does the kidneys. And so each one of these guys is kind of like looking at their own like area. And then like with cardiologists, you have the interventional cardiologists, you have cardiothoracic surgeons. So they're like very like micro niched down into these discrete parts of the body, right? So it's like they just look at the heart, they just look at the kidneys, they just look at the skin. And that means that literally, if there's any problem going anywhere else in the body, they kick it over to the dermatologist, they kick it over to whoever else, right? So pretty much no one except the general practitioners, and they're not even doing that often because they're just like, oh, this is something that I don't really understand, kick it to the specialist, right? But no one's looking at the big picture. No one's looking at the overall, why is this going on, right? Because if you got lupus, well, you got a rash on your skin, you got joint pain, you often have fatigue, you often have like Raynaud's phenomenon, like circulatory issues. So that's like, 4 different specialists right there, and then they of course send you the nephrologist when your kidneys start to go down, and the rheumatologist, and you got to see like 6 different doctors. You think these guys are talking to each other? I think they're like meeting in a room, be like, we got to figure out a plan for Sydney because her system's screwed up, and I'm seeing this with her kidneys. What are you seeing with her skin? And like, no, they're not doing that. They don't have the time. They're just like, oh, I see a symptom and I treat the symptom. Right. But they're not looking at the big picture. And this is what gets us in trouble, right? That they're not thinking holistically, which, it works to some degree for certain conditions, but for autoimmunity, it just becomes like this game of whack-a-mole, right? Anybody been like the specialist merry-go-round, seen like a gajillion specialists and no one can figure it out? Okay. More than 10 years bouncing from one doctor to another until I figured it out myself. Yep, here you go. How about that? Listen, guys, like if what they did worked, I'd be healthy. I wouldn't be here. Y'all probably wouldn't be here. Life would be good. This is not like the time to just like, put mainstream medicine down, but it's like we got to build a better mousetrap because what they're doing is just it's not working. It's not working. And so why is it so hard to get a diagnosis, right? Is labs can't find everything that's going on. They just don't have ways to test for everything. And just because they find something doesn't mean that it's definitely the thing, right? Because you could have all the symptoms of rheumatoid arthritis, but you don't show up with a rheumatoid factor. So it's like, well, do you have rheumatoid arthritis? Are you seronegative rheumatoid arthritis? It's like, why are we testing this for this rheumatoid factor if it's not even like a definite determinant? Because you could have it and not have the disease. So, and like, there's no lab test to confirm MS. Like, they got to MRI your brain and see if there's lesions there. But from the doctor's standpoint, it's like they're just oftentimes they got 10 minutes with you. They're just looking at a piece of paper. And they're like, okay, well, this piece of paper is essentially you, and if it doesn't show up on the piece of paper, well, then, it must not be real, right? And it's like, if they were never learned about it in medical school or taught about it, it must not be real. Anybody get the, like, I think you're faking it, right? Or the, like, have you considered that it's all in your head? Anybody get that? Anybody get that? Anybody told it's just anxiety, it's just stress, it's just all in your head? What's funny is, all the time, right? Anxiety, yep, been told that all the time. What's funny is if you watch a show like House, remember like the medical mystery show where they like always have some mystery patient, they gotta like figure out what's going on to save them, right? Because they can't figure out what it is. It's like dig and figure it out, and like use the science and think and research. And it's like, wow, that's what they do. It must be a mystery disease. That's what doctors do. They really dig in and they figure it out. I gotta run every test and check every nook and cranny for a possible answer. But they don't do that, right? Like that, and nobody's probably had that experience here. You probably go, if you consider that it's all in your head, right? Because they just don't have the time to do the work. Like they literally are seeing, 5 patients an hour, like sometimes more. So yeah, it just comes with aging, right? It's like, yeah, no one else my age has it, but it's just bad luck and bad genes, guys. Nothing you can do except take dope. Okay. All right. So yeah, good news. Your labs are totally normal. It must be all in your head, right? And so this is kind of the hubris of the medical system where it's like, if they can't figure it out, you must be crazy. Because God forbid there's something that they don't know that they could say, raise their hand and say, I'm sorry, but I don't know. I tell that to people a lot of times because I get a lot of questions that I just don't know the answer to. And I have the courage and the humility to say, I don't know. There's a lot of things that aren't in my wheelhouse that I don't know. But this autoimmunity thing is something I've been, just diving into for 13 years. I know a lot about it. So that's diagnosis, right? Like, good luck if you got a diagnosis. You're like, okay, now I got the diagnosis. Like, now they can fix me. All right, yeah, okay, I got the diagnosis. People are like, they're all excited, like, I finally got a diagnosis, right? And then it comes to treatment, and then they're in for a big surprise when they find out that is its own can of worms too, right? Because what is the medical model for treatment of these conditions? Well, it's 2 things. It's either drugs or surgery, right? And so, I put surgery, it's like the Uncle Joey, cut it out, guys, right? Like, gallbladder's not working right, cut it out. Appendix is doing bad, cut it out. There's problems, like you kind of need those organs and glands, and it's like, oh, uterus is malfunctioning, cut it out. There's consequences to cutting out your organs, right? It's like, it's not like like you kind of need those things. They're there for a reason. They're called vital organs for a reason. They're vital to, you having a good quality of life. So, yeah, I mean, I'm sure some of you here have had things cut out of you that you wish you hadn't, okay. Yeah. Oh, someone said, man, Julian, you've gotten the raw deal. You've had lupus for 33 years. Just just be happy you lasted this long, right? Like, just, you should be grateful to be sick and not dead. I mean, kind of, but like, whoa, okay. Not a fun thing to be told, right? So it's like, well, let's just cut out this part of you or that part of you. But you want to avoid that if you can. And then drugs, well, what do? They say, okay, most of the time, they're like, okay, well, your immune system is attacking you, right? Your immune system is that system that's supposed to fight infection is attacking you. And, oh, okay, it's Arlene. Okay, gotcha. I keep calling you Julian, but it's actually Arlene. I'll try to remember that. So you got this immune system that's attacking you, and we gotta suppress your immune system so that it doesn't attack you, right? Because your immune system's being a bad little boy or a bad little girl. We gotta suppress it, right? There's only one problem, right? What's the problem with suppressing your immune system? I'll let you answer that one in the chat. Oh, Lynn's saying she had her right thyroid loss. I imagine that's like it took out like the right half of it, so you probably still got the left half, but still not good. Okay, yeah. So I said, what's the side effect of suppressing your immune system? Other viruses, right? You'll get sick because you need that. You kind of need that immune system, especially when there's a virus going around now, guys. Like, you need that immune system for other things, right? So now it becomes a game of whack-a-mole where it's like, well, we're going to suppress your immune system so your joints don't hurt anymore. But then you'll also, like, you see these commercials and like skin infections may happen, or like coughs and colds, and in some rare cases, cancer. But in rare cases, guys, like, you got to be on it a long time. Well, how long are you going to be on it? Well, the rest of your life. Well, okay. You need that immune system, right? It's like, this is like the surgery we're just going to cut out your immune system. I mean, granted, you come off it, your immune system comes back, thankfully. But suppressing your immune system is not really the best strategy because there's massive side effects. And I'm sure some of you guys in the chat can tell us all about what you've dealt with that, because I've seen it all. Craziest stuff. Okay, so here's the thing. You get put on these immune system drugs. Well, they're not really fully a cure, right? And the symptoms might get better, but they don't always go away. And then here's another thing is that sometimes all the drugs do is make the labs look better, right? Like, especially with thyroid. Anybody with Hashimoto's thyroid and they put you on Synthroid or levothyroxine, and then they, and then you don't really feel any better, but then they run your labs again and they go, oh, good news, your labs are normal now. Yay. And you're like, but I'm still tired and feel like crap. And they're like, I don't know, labs look good, medicine's working, keep it up. Right? Oh, that's an unfortunate thing. Yep. Jeanette says, yep. Or Janet. Yeah. Okay, yeah. Nicole says, I have it, but in pig form. So yeah, so they have armor thyroid, which is they basically like, but when they kill a pig, they salvage the thyroid, and they dry it out, and they crush it up into powder and make it into pills, and that's armor thyroid. So you're taking exogenous thyroid. It's just, instead of a synthetic one, it's a pig one. But maybe you feel better, maybe you don't. But sometimes it can make, what I'm saying is that sometimes you have this phenomenon where the medicine makes the paper say that everything's okay, but you don't feel any better, right? But the doctor's looking at the paper, not you. And they're like, well, the paper says you're healthy. The paper says you're normal. Like, we got the medicine to change the number on the lab sheet. Well, we didn't get you to feel better, but we scienced, we did it. We got you better. I mean, not really, but on the paper, it looks like it. So I don't know what to do now. Okay, side effects. Like, we talked about this. Risk of infections, risk of skin conditions, and cancer. Here's the other thing. Anybody experience this, that like they're on a biologic? Okay, Michelle says, I'm on levothyroxine, and they just keep increasing the dose, right? So this is a little bit different. Like a levothyroxine, a thyroid drug, is really to do the job that your thyroid's not doing, so sort of take over for it. And so, like, sometimes that works, sometimes it doesn't, but it's like, it's not really a fix. It's like, let's get the thyroid back online so it can start producing thyroid hormone instead of taking a synthetic thyroid hormone. But anybody who's on Humira, methotrexate, Remicade, Taltz, Enbrel, anything like that, any biologics, you got to do the musical chairs. It's like every 6 months to 5 years or so, sometimes longer. The drug just stops working. Like, the symptoms come back and they're like, oh, we got to switch you. right? And then switch you to another one, right? And then 2 or 3 years on that and switch you to another one. It stops working. And then like 10 years later, they're like, whoa, you're on Humira 10 years ago. Let's try it again, right? They're just like rotating these drugs, and it's like this merry-go-round. And then I was looking the numbers up on this, but I think Remicade about 85,000 a year if you're paying cash. It's a lot of money. It's a lot of money. So you're getting side effects. It's not really working. Maybe it's making the lab numbers look better. Maybe you're feeling a little bit better. But overall, this is not a cure. This is not really like a sustainable long-term solution. Am I right? Am I right? And so, but this is what we got, right? That's the medical approach, right? So why do doctors do this? Why don't they tell you what I'm about to tell you? Why do they keep doing this stuff, right? Because they're bad, evil people. They're bad and they're evil and they do wrong things and they know better, but they don't do it. No. They're well-intentioned. They're smart people, but they just haven't been equipped to deal with this stuff, right? Like medicine now is really equipped to treat diseases of the 1950s that almost no one's dealing with anymore. Infectious diseases. But when it comes to chronic diseases, oh God, forget it. Okay. So medical school only teaches drugs and surgery, right? Like any sort of natural approach, like look at this guy with a smoothie, like what a doofus, you know? Any of that is vilified. It's like seen as barbaric or like stupid or ignorant or like just, you know, all these people. Oh, Dr. Ben just puts people on smoothie diets. Like he could never get into the medical school. That stuff doesn't really work. He was only doing that because he wasn't smart enough to go to the regular medical school. So they really just think that like drugs and surgery are just always superior and anything natural is just like for dumb people, right? And like the only reason they're doing that is because they're not smart enough to go to a doctor, or the person who's doing it with them wasn't smart enough to go to medical school. Here's the other thing. They get about less than 5 hours in 5 hours in nutrition of all 4+ years of medical school, like literally not even a class. And they're usually teaching them just like, you know, vitamin B does this, vitamin C does that. They're not really teaching them that like food has any bearing on disease, right? Here's the other thing. Pharmaceutical companies, as you may have found out recently, make a lot of money, like a lot of money. You know, it's $1 trillion industry now. It's bigger than oil and gas. It is the largest industry in the world. It is the most lucrative industry in the world. Humira, you know, before the Pfizer COVID vaccine came along, Humira was the best-selling drug ever, like billions and billions and billions of dollars. And it costs like $7 grand for like 40 milliliters of it. If this stuff is like worth like, you know, puts gold to shame in how expensive it is. And here's the other thing is that like, okay, well now they're suppressing your immune system. Well, now you got all these other diseases you can get, right? So it's like, we'll put you on Humira we'll vaccinate you on the front end, right? And then you'll develop an autoimmune disease. And then when you're in your 20s, we can put you on Humira. And then you get a bunch of other diseases we can treat with drugs. And then when you're 50, you'll get cancer and we have drugs for that. And it's like a birth to grave cycle of just like these drugs conveniently cause side effects that necessitate the need for other drugs. Like, is there a evil person behind the scenes? Oh, we're going to get them addicted for life. Ha, ha, ha. No. But this is just how it works. It's like every problem, every symptom is just treated with another drug. And so like a drug that generates side effects is essentially generating more symptoms for more drugs. So it benefits them to have side effects, to have everything not quite work right. Because then they can just give you more things that don't quite work right. Right. And when I say them, I mean the pharmaceutical companies, not the doctors. Okay. And so, you know, look what happened during COVID, right? It's like, you know, why don't doctors do this? Well, it's because medicine is run like an authoritarian, like, you know, regime where basically like, if you know, you're in your office, like prescribing fruits and vegetables to people instead of Humira, well, you know, you're in trouble, mister. You know, like that's a good way to get your license yanked. So it's like, if you don't do what the pharmaceutical companies say, if you don't do drugs and surgeries, like you're, as a doctor, you're under the microscope, you're sticking your neck out and you're gonna get whacked. And so that's why a lot of them don't do it. They just want to be hassled. They got to pay back all their medical school debt, right? So they'll just keep cutting people's organs out, just pay the bills, not bother people, not get hassled. Okay, so that brings the question, like, okay, why is this medical model not working? And I really should have gone to the bathroom when I started this. Why is the medical model not working? Right? It's because they have this idea that they have to fight the disease, right? That they have to fight. You have to be a lupus warrior, a rheumatoid arthritis warrior, a MS warrior. You have to, like, a client was telling me this the other day. She's like, we really thought we had to fight dad's disease, and that's what I tried to do. And that's what doctors try and do. It's like, fight the disease, right? But here's the thing. You're fighting something you don't want, right? But if you end any Abraham Hicks or law of attraction or any of that stuff, you find that the more you resist something, the more you fight it, the more power you give to it, right? And we've seen this throughout history. We declared a war on cancer in the 1970s. Now cancer is the #2 cause of death in the developed world. And in about 20 of the 50 US states, it's the #1. Like, it's beating out heart disease for #1. So this war on cancer, we're losing it, okay? War on drugs, declared a war on drugs in the 1980s. Well, we got more drug overdose deaths in the 2020s than like ever before. It finally hit the 6-figure mark. It used to be like 50,000 a few years ago. Now it's over 100,000, right? So we're not winning the war on drugs at all, right? We're losing. The war on terror. Well, now we got more terror than ever, right? And so all these things that we try to fight, we just create more of, right? There's a phrase you might have heard: what you resist persists. Okay, so the more you focus on the problem and how to stop the problem, and don't think about what the solution would be or what the opposite is, well, the more power you give that. So we got to fight the disease. We got to fight the disease. We got to put you on immune suppressants. Well, now you got more disease because you got side effects, and it's like, oh God, it's just not working, right? So that is that model. So what would be the opposite of that? Well, the opposite of fighting a disease would be to create. Like, the opposite of waging war would be to wage peace. Like, let's try to create peace. We have a Department of Defense. We got a war. We got a military. Do we have any part of our government trying to create peace? No, not really. That would be wise, right? Why are we always in wars? Well, maybe if we focused on peace, we might have some. Well, same thing with disease. What's the opposite of that? Well, it's health. Okay, just put simplistically. So let's focus instead of fighting disease, focus on creating health. Okay, I've been saying that for years. I was trying to come up with a title for my book for the longest time. I didn't know what to call it. And I was like, create health. Focus on doing the things that create health, bolster the body. Okay, because the body has the ability to heal itself. Okay, and I know that all of you know this. And so I wanted to do a thought experiment with you guys. If you cut your hand, okay, what happens? It heals, right? The wound eventually heals. What happens if you pick at the scab, rub dirt on it, use it all the time while it's trying to heal? What happens? Type in the chat. And I swear there's a reason I'm telling you this stuff. It's going to make sense in a minute here. Yep, infection, maybe it's slower to heal. It's like you're like inhibiting, it delays the process, right? Well, the body still eventually can heal. But it makes it more difficult, right? Now, if you put on let's say conversely, instead of, you take really good care, you put a bandage on it. You put a bandage on the cut, and a few days later, you take off the bandage and the cut is healed. Have any of you ever said, wow, bandage, you healed me. Thank you, bandage. Oh, this is a miracle. This bandage healed my hand. Oh, I'm so glad. Thank you. And then you throw it away. Thank you, bandage. You're a blessing. No, don't be ridiculous. So the hand healed itself, but he put a bandage on it. Why? What did the bandage do? Type in the chat. Bandage protected the cut. Okay. And so yeah. So what does that mean? It protected the cut. And so how is that helpful? It's an important concept to grasp here. So type in the chat, guys, how your own body heals. Yep. But the bandage, what did the bandage do? Didn't heal you, but it played some role in things, right? stopped it from being irritated, did not treat it, protected the cut from being infected. So what the bandage did, okay, what the bandage did was it got rid of anything that would interfere with the healing. It removed interference, it prevented interference, right? So that the body could focus on healing itself and not be annoyed or intruded upon or perturbed or molested by outside forces, right? It gave the, oh, Mel, you nailed it. It gave the body the environment for ideal healing. I love it. Yes, you read my mind, right? That just a place where no one could bother it, right? Like when you're not feeling well, you got to go rest and like, don't call me, don't talk to me, like leave me alone, right? So the body has the ability to heal itself. And then when you put a bandage on, well, you're keeping the intruders at bay. You're keeping anything that could interfere with that healing process out of the way. You're removing the interference to what the body can already do. Because if the body's interfered with, it's going to take longer to heal. And if it's really interfered with, it may never heal. But you remove that interference and then boom, the body does its job. Well, if you, we're probably at the most crucial part of this whole conversation tonight. Okay. What works with a cut works with chronic disease, works with autoimmune disease. Okay. I know that's a stretch. And you're like, okay, Dr. Ben, you're telling me this, an hour with you to tell me that I got to become a mummy and like wrap myself in bandages? No. What I'm trying to say, that was a joke, guys. Okay. What I'm trying to say is that if you remove the interference to the body, its ability to heal itself, it can perform miracles. Is Sujanya on the call right now? Because she's got an amazing story. I don't know if we could share that one in a little bit. We'll share some healing stories tonight, but this is a newer one and it's rather remarkable. But anyway, the body has the ability to heal its. Okay, you're here, Sujanya. Are you game to unmute yourself and just kind of share some story of your dad and his sort of healing journey so far? Because it's just remarkable.
Hi, Dr. Ben. Thank you so much. Yes, Dad had been diagnosed with an autoimmune skin condition called pemphigoid bullous. And we've just, I think this is 7 months after the diagnosis, and he had gone through the journey of having steroids and suppressing the immune system and having injections. And despite of that, it didn't quite work, and the blisters. So the condition causes blisters in the body. So wherever you have skin, you get blisters filled with clear fluid. So it kind of aggravated despite of having the steroids. Yeah, I took the decision in my hands because Dad wasn't not in a situation to take any decision about him. So, and I said, we were not going to do any more steroids, and we just stopped it abruptly and started on juice fasting. And 8 weeks down the lane of just juice fasting and water fasting, Dad has just lost a lot of energy, and he was in his aggravated phase of having all the blisters. And I found Dr. Ben just because I was like, okay, here we are. We have kind of detoxing and we have finished all the juicing. And now what? How do I get this man back on his feet and get him back walking? So yeah, I like the concept of creating health rather than fighting disease. Yeah, we have started him on smoothies and fruits, and this is really helping him. So he has gained weight, and he started doing the exercise bike. Now he's pushing himself to an hour a day. Before, he was a physical assist to even getting up off the bed. So this has been an incredible journey in the last. So today is Valentine's Day, and we express all our love from our family to you, Dr. Ben. It's been great. Thank you so much for getting us here. And it's not the journey; it's not stopped. It's just begun, and we just see that we keep creating more health for Dad, and by nourishing his system with a lot of fruits and smoothies, and just giving him the most appropriate nutritious diet.
Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing. So let's get into that. Let's get into, what what is that? Like, how do most best create health? Okay. And so like, I think it was like, I have 20 years of formal education, but I think it was in kindergarten. The teacher told me, hey, fruits and vegetables are the healthiest foods, right? And that's what we used for Sujania's dad. And that's what we used. I used with a lot of people. And so, okay. So anyway, I put this here. You could screenshot this, right? This will be in the replay too, but this is my whole protocol. Like this is like, literally, this is what, we're doing a slightly modified version of this with Sujania's dad, but this is pretty much it. It's like tons of fruits and vegetables. Okay. So breakfast, fruit. Okay. Right now it's citrus season in the Northern Hemisphere. I just picked like a ton of it. I drank like a half-gallon orange juice that I squeezed, from trees that I picked myself, right? Like you're not going to the store and buying like the preservative laden orange juice. I'm saying you're consuming fruit or fruit juice or fruit smoothie. Okay. For lunch, typically having people do a green smoothie, bananas, greens, other fruit. Okay. Dinner, more fruit, big salad. Okay. I didn't get to finish tonight's salad, but this was, I made the most amazing dressing just out of fruit and vegetables. It was pomegranate, tangerine, avocado, cilantro, and then I poured that on a bunch of organic greens and these really good jam grapes. It's like, I can't wait to finish the salad. It's delicious. Ramsina was there on the call with me tonight before the workshop when I was making it. Okay. So yeah, Teresa has got some questions out. We'll get into that, right? So here's like example of what I eat in a day, right? Like big bowl of peaches. This would be like summer. Okay. Big green smoothie before it's blended. Big salads. Okay. So let's see. So why fruits and vegetables, right? And we got some questions like no meat or fish. Okay. So these are the most nutrient dense foods on the planet and also the most anti-inflammatory foods on the planet. So they have the most nutrition, right? The most nutrient density, as in the most vitamins and minerals per calorie. So they don't have a lot of calories, but they got a lot of nutrition, right? So that means you got to eat a lot. And then by a consequence of that, you get even more nutrition, right? So nutrient dense, most inflammatory food, anti-inflammatory. They leave behind the least amount of residue or metabolic waste, as in they interfere with the body's ability to heal itself the least. Okay. So they allow the body to do its thing. They give the body the least amount of work to do to digest them and break them down and process them. Meat and fish, yeah, they have some nutrition in them, but they have a lot of things that your body has to like expunge and get rid of. It becomes taxing on the system. Okay. But that's a good question, right? So fruits and vegetables for the win. Okay, let's talk about fruit and this, you're talking to a guy here who for 13 years has been eating 7, 8, 9, 10 pounds of fruits and vegetables a day. Okay. Today alone, I drank a gallon of green smoothie, a gallon. Okay. That's for you, not Americans. That's 4 liters. And that was just for lunch. Lots of fruits and vegetables, lots of nutrition. I don't normally drink that much. That today was kind of, I worked out really hard and I was just really hungry. Okay. So, okay. So now you're thinking like, okay, Dr. Ben, what about protein? Like I'm not eating meat. What about protein, right? I gotta get protein, right? Dr. Ben, you must be not getting enough protein, right? And it's like, well, I'm still standing here, still crushing it. Deadlifted 300 pounds for 4 reps last week. Got to up the weight tomorrow. So here's the thing. All plants have protein. Okay. So where do you think the cows and the chickens and the pigs get the protein? Well, they're not magical protein factories. If they were, then all animals would be, right? But no, they get it from the plants that they eat. Okay. And so plants on average have about 10% calories from protein. All right. Standard American diet, when you're eating a standard American diet, you're about 16%. Okay. Excess protein is actually pro-inflammatory. You talk about that. Most people are getting too much, right? They're just like protein, right? I've never heard of a single disease being reversed by eating more protein. In fact, I don't even know, never seen a protein deficiency in my life. But we have this obsession with it must be the answer, just get more of it, right? But people would be healing from diseases on it. And they just, protein powder would be like outselling Humira, right? There's no known disease other than starvation that is caused by a protein deficiency. Okay. Another thing I get asked, Dr. Ben, isn't all that fruit too much sugar? So if it were too much sugar and fruit caused diabetes, well, I'd be like, I wouldn't fit on the screen here. It'd just be like my stomach. I'd be like 700 pounds. Wouldn't be able to fit through that door back there, right? So here's the thing. Refined sugar that comes in like Coca-Cola, candy, corn syrup, cakes, pies, all that, behaves totally different in the body than fruit sugar. Why? Because fruit is not just the sugar. It's a whole package of nutrients, including fiber. Okay, fiber, everyone says, oh, it makes you poop. Okay, that's true. Okay, but it does other things. It has two other very important jobs, one of which is that it slows the absorption of sugar into the bloodstream. So when you drink a smoothie or you make an orange juice and you put the fiber back in, well, that fiber slows the absorption so you don't get a sugar spike. Okay, but if you drink Coca-Cola, you drink Bang energy drink, well, there's no fiber in that. So you might as well just pour the sugar right into your bloodstream. That's a problem. But with the fiber there, well, it's a slow release. Okay. If fruit made you diabetic, I'd be 400 plus pounds with fasting blood sugar of 400 plus. Yeah, it'd probably be like 600 plus with the amount of fruit that I eat. I think with the smoothies alone today, I think I had 17 bananas. Okay, so still standing. Okay, and we got more stories of healing coming here. We got some questions in the chat. Okay, let's see. Why do people say that the sugar content in fruit is bad? Because they think that like they don't make the connection that like fruit is whole food and refined sugar. Refined sugar is terrible for you. This is not an endorsement of Mountain Dew or energy drinks or cakes or pies. That's totally different. Okay, it behaves totally different in the body than fruit. But is there sugar in both? Yes, but one is chemical laden and nutrient deprived, and the other one has fiber and vitamins and minerals and enzymes and coenzymes and protein and water and like all this other stuff. It's a complete package, right? That one won't harm you. The refined, man-made, chemicalized one that's made in a plant will kill you. The one that comes from a plant will heal you. Okay. I was diagnosed with a pancreatic cyst at the end of last year. I started juicing. Carrots, apples, celery, Last MRI cyst is gone. Oh, Lynn, crushing it. Love it. Okay, I was told I'm anemic because I'm vegetarian. So Johnny, we'll have to talk about that. There's many causes of anemia, but the iron that's in meat is carcinogenic because wrapped up with the heme. You want to get the iron from vegetables, and if there's a different type of anemia, like a B12 or B9 deficiency, we'll figure that out. What about the lion diet? Has been shown to reverse stuff. Yeah. So yeah, this is new phenomenon. People are just eating meat, right, and healing from these things. And I'm not contesting that's not true. But the problem is it causes a bunch of other issues, right? It's like the immune suppressant drug. It might fix one problem, but then it's going to like clog your arteries. And it's like, okay, well now I don't have joint pain anymore, but now my liver has got like, fatty liver and like atherosclerosis and high blood pressure. So it's like trading one thing for the other. So yes, it works for autoimmune disease to some degree, as far as I've seen, but it causes other problems. So this is the way to not cause other problems. Juicing removes the fiber. Yeah, I would say if you're going to juice, keep it mostly vegetables, and or like if you're juicing like oranges or something, put some of the fiber back in there. That's kind of the way. Juicing, blending's probably better, but hey, however you can get the fruits and vegetables in you, uncooked ideally, unadulterated, juice them, smoothie them, blend them, whatever, just get them in your body. Like do what tastes good. Because no one's gonna sit down and just eat a head of celery. Have I done it on a plane ride one time just to see if I could do it? Yeah. Did I enjoy it? No. Did the person who sat next to me think I was absolutely crazy? Yes. Okay. Well, juice the celery or blend it with some bananas. Way easier, right? It's like the shortcut. So anyway, we've got someone giggling on the line here, and she's got a pretty crazy health transformation. And I want to introduce her. Ramsina, would you be willing to share a little bit about kind of your backstory and what all you've been dealing with and how things have really transformed in the past, how long has it been now? Like 18 months? More than that, 2 years.
Yeah, about a year and a half, yes. Thank you. Good evening, everyone. My name is Ramsina, just like Dr. Ben said, and I was just imagining him chomping on celery. Okay. Um, I came to, I met Dr. Ben on Zoom and through YouTube and such in June of 2021. When I came to him, the only reason why I came to him because I just had this um, pesky thought or feeling in my heart that I just wanted to live. And yet there didn't seem to be any way or any hope of getting better. I think probably because my grandbaby was going to be born in July. I imagine that had something to do with wanting to find and I don't understand why people call that alternative way of healing. This isn't alternative. This is the real way of healing. However, anyway, I wanted to find someone that could help me heal because month after month, year after year, I was only getting worse and worse. I have more than a handful of complications, health
Can you give us some
complications.
detail of like, just so people can identify with what you're dealing
Yes,
with?
of
Like,
course.
just some of the
Sure.
basics of what you were struggling with and what doctors had tried to do to try to help you.
Yes, they haven't helped me. Okay. So, beginning from years ago, I've been diagnosed with acid reflux. So at the age of 21, I was hooked on, you name it. Remember the purple pill, Nexium, Tagamet, on and on and on to block the acid, block the acid. We need the acid though, however, they kept blocking the acid. Well, that did many other things to my body, and that was just the beginning. I sometimes tell people I've had surgeries in 3 different countries. Not too many people can say that. And in almost all those countries, a part of my body was cut out. Um, yeah, I've gone through a lot of surgeries, a lot of surgeries, beginning age of 12 months old and on. I've dealt with surgeries. And then from there on, I've had right by the time Dr. Ben and I met, I had my mesenteric nodes, lymphatic nodes were there was inflammation there. My gallbladder had numerous stones, as I was told. I have celiac. I have fibromyalgia, and it's not in my head, it's on my body. I have osteoarthritis, and I have, let's see, something that a lot of people might recognize it as probably gastroparesis or motility issues, but it hasn't been diagnosed because the oatmeal goes down okay when they give it to me. And, they look at the oatmeal traveling, it goes down fine. If the oatmeal goes fine, you're okay. But they're not living in my body. They don't know what I go through. So yeah, I'm dealing with all of that. Dr. Ben, did I leave anything out? Is there
That's a
anything
pretty
else
good
I left?
synopsis. But yeah,
Yeah,
tell us
okay.
about, your healing experience and
Sure.
obviously you've made serious changes to your diet. I mean, I think you were addicted to Diet Pepsi at one point, right?
Yes, I was.
And
Yes,
you made many
complete.
changes. So tell us a bit about that and how things have gotten better. Because I think at one point you couldn't even get off the couch, right?
No. When we talked for the first time in June of 2021, Dr. Ben kept asking me what would if I was able to heal and things of that nature, what would that look like for me? What are my goals? It was the hardest thing for me to imagine a goal because I had no goals anymore. I was like, and I remember thinking, I told him, okay, I have a goal so I can get off the couch without having to talk to myself for about 10 minutes just to get myself moving. That was a goal. I wanted to at least be able to do that. Today, I'm able to chase a 19-month-old. Um, I keep up with a young man. That would be my grandbaby. Um, I was absolutely addicted to caffeine of any form. You name it, I had to have it, from chocolate to Diet Coke and Diet Pepsis and all of that, just to kind of keep going. As of August 20th of this past year, 2022, I have had no caffeine, none, zero, nothing. So that's been really, really incredible. And yeah, I mean, oh yes, my numerous stones. Remember I told you I had numerous stones? They told me the gallbladder had to come out too. Well, the gallbladder hasn't gone out, and it's going to stay here if I have my say. So it's doing just fine. There was only one stone left last I knew. So that's been doing fine. And my mesenteric nodes, the inflammation had gone down the last time they checked it. I still have a long ways to go. I still can't eat the way most people can. For the most part, I'm on liquids, but that's okay. I'm very, very delighted for the improvements I've made. And I'm just going to let the body heal in its own pace and its own time. And I now work with Dr. Ben. So, yes.
I was stuck on mute and I couldn't unmute myself. Well, thank you for sharing, Ramsina.
Of
So,
course.
we shared a little bit, some crazy, amazing healing stories. We shared a little bit about, how to do that with fruits and vegetables. So if you're listening, you're like, man, I want some of that. I need to heal, right? Like if you want to get out of pain, get your energy back, regain control of your body, so you're in control of it and it's not in control of you, and you don't have to coax it to get off the couch. You don't have to have canceled plans on you. If you want to no longer feel like an outcast or homebody, feel like being social again, show up for your friends, family, partner, kids 100%, that's healing, right? So the question is, if you want to do that, are you willing to be a renegade, right? Are you willing to make these changes? And I love this song, Renegades of Funk by Rage Against the Machine. It's actually a cover song I found out by some other band, but one of the things he says, and I listened to a lot of Rage Against the Machine in the 90s. I'm not so sure I'm down with what they're doing now, but anyway, renegades are people with their own philosophy. They change the course of history. Everyday people like you and me. Because I got to tell you, I'm an everyday dude. Ramsita's everyday woman. Okay. Yeah. The guy, Sujanya, who we heard from, her and her dad, regular everyday people who had miraculous healing stories because they were willing to be a renegade and do things different. Okay. Willing to say, you know what, this whole drug thing you got me on, kind of done with it. I'm gonna be changing my diet. I know it's crazy. Dr. Ben ate 17 bananas in a day, but I think he's onto something, right? So if you're a renegade, you want to do what's right, even when other people may not agree with you. You want to make big changes to your diet and lifestyle, and know that you'll make mistakes and fall off from time to time, but it's all about the big picture. It's all about the long game. You're willing to stop caring what people think of you, or at least don't let it get to you. Live life on your terms in order to get vibrantly well, and be proud to be a renegade. Be that person who's carrying around a giant jar of smoothie, a giant salad, a box of fruit, and you don't follow the crowd, and that's okay because you're enjoying vibrant health, right? You're achieving a level of health and vitality that most people will not experience in this lifetime. Because it's not just like, oh, I got back to where I was. I'm healthy like I was 13 years ago. No, you just keep going, blowing past that. You don't think of 10 pounds of fruits and vegetables today. I'm feeling better at 41 than I felt at 21. You better believe it. Got some comments in the chat here. Yes, people love Rage Against the Machine. Ramsina, people are loving your story.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, okay. So, renegade. So if you're going to create health and be a renegade, you can fight disease, right? Like 1 year of Humira or Remicade or another biologic. I was looking up the numbers tonight. It's like it's between 70,000 and 85,000 US a year if you're paying out of pocket, right? And that's for 1 year, right? Because you'll be on it the rest of your life, right? That's a lot of money. Like every year, that's more than a lot of people make in a year. Now That's 1 year, and it doesn't even get you better, right? Like there's still side effects. There's still, it's not a cure, right? So here's my offer to you. For a lot less money than that, actually get results like you heard about tonight. Okay. The investment to create health. All right. So the offer tonight is for something. I have an online course called the Create Health Academy, which has all this mapped out. So you just got to follow it. Okay. Recipes, meal plans, shopping lists, instructional videos. I think I got like 9 or 10 hours worth of stuff in there you can dig through. Okay. You go on my website, it's a $1,000 course. Okay. Tonight, I'm doing a special offer for you guys. So if you are watching this and the people who get the replay, let's hope this offer is still up. So normally $1,000 for this course on my website. Okay, tonight you sign up, bring the price down to $200. People who are watching the workshop. I'm also going to throw in a bonus. Okay, a 1 hour, what we call recovery roadmap call with Ramsina and myself. We'll both be on there. Ramsina schedule permitting, but definitely me. And so that's where we will really sit down and hash out a plan for you to heal and get better, right? Because the information's good, but some of you are gonna need support going on afterwards, right? Because I can put all the information out there. I mean, heck, I've got a book, you know, you can read the book. Information's in there too, I suppose. But information without action doesn't get the results like you've seen tonight. Okay. So if you're the kind of person that gets discouraged easily, gets distracted easily, tends to procrastinate, tends to self-sabotage, has trouble sticking things, needs someone to push you, needs a like-minded tribe of renegades going through the same struggles, this is for you. Okay, so I'm going to put a link in the chat. Also, if you check your email, there's a link here. But if you want to sign up, it's just drbenjaminbenulis.com/workshop offer. Okay. And that offer is good for this week. And so, but you know, we have only so many spots on the calendar for the call and all of that. So sign up. Let's see. We got some questions in the chat that we'll answer. So we'll just break into Q&A. But anyway, the link, go sign up, is in the chat. You also got an email with it. Tomorrow there'll be an email with the replay, so you can watch it again. And with that, we'll just we'll break into Q&A here. We've got 8 minutes, which hopefully is plenty of time. So you can either raise your hand, like if you do this, the screen should actually tell that you're like raised your hand, or you can type your questions in the chat, whatever you got, whatever you want to know. And Ramsina is probably also taking questions too, so you can ask her or me.
Mm-hmm. Yes, definitely.
Don't all ask at once, guys. I mean, it was pretty thorough. We did go through over a lot of stuff in 83 minutes. Okay, well, we'll give it another minute or two. Ramsina, is there anything that you just wanted to share that's on your heart or anything like that with the folks tonight?
Thank you. What I wanted to share with each and every one of you that are here tonight, you're here, believe it or not, because somewhere in your heart, you too believe your body wants to live. That's why you're here. And this can be the first step of the incredible journey of healing and creating health. And we're here to support you every step of the way. You can make it happen, and we know how to support. So, yep.
All right. Well, we got some questions in the chat. I'm going to put the link again, so it's get buried there. But okay, so we got some questions. I am curious about your thoughts on the fad of only drinking celery juice. I think, celery is awesome. Celery juice is awesome. If you think you're going to drink celery juice and eat like a regular standard American diet and junk food, and that it's celery juice is somehow going to counteract that, I'm sorry, doesn't work that way. Haven't seen anybody do it. Is it great to include? Is it better than eating junk? absolutely. If you do a program like this, or you're increasing your fruits and vegetables, and like you want celery juice wants to be part of that, awesome, rock on. I don't think, and like, look, you can't just live on celery juice the rest of your life. Oh, you do celery juice like cleanse for, a week or two or whatever. I'm supportive of that, but at some point, like, you got to eat enough calories to sustain yourself. And celery, as we know, has negative calories. So then you juice it, it's like, it's not really something that you can like live on exclusively,
Right.
but it's a great part of a
Understand.
health promoting program. Is endometriosis considered an autoimmune condition? Yes. Endometriosis is essentially an autoimmune condition of the uterus, more specifically the endometrium, which is like the inside of the uterus. So absolutely, I've seen people heal endometriosis this way. It works. And I know that's a very unfun condition, as well as I can know it for a person who doesn't have a uterus. I've heard plenty of stories and all of that. So yes, absolutely can help with endometriosis. Okay. Holly says, oh, we got a lot of messages in the chat. I guess people have to have time to type it out, right? I have not been diagnosed with an autoimmune condition, but my mom has arthritis and fibromyalgia. So yeah, fibromyalgia is kind of like is it autoimmune? We don't really know, but it's like an unexplained chronic pain. But I think Ramsina and many other people can attest to that, it's definitely helps majorly with fibromyalgia. Holly says, I have constant back pain and tired a lot. Okay. Yep. Check out the book. Yep. Good info in there, and say like, hey, if you really want to attack this, sign up. Let's see. Would this be beneficial for asthmatics? Yeah, absolutely. Asthma has a lot to do with like inflammation in the lungs. And so if we can eat things that are going to bring that inflammation down, it improves a lot. Okay. Nicole says, trying to raise my hand. I don't see you, but I can unmute you if you want to ask a question live. Okay. I'll let you ask your live question. You got to unmute yourself though. Oh, there you go.
Hey, thank you. I've been in a situation where I have thyroid disease, acute Hashimoto's, and was actually diagnosed by a naturopath. And I've just been struggling for the past 3 years. She's given me a very strict diet where I couldn't eat carrots or grapes or fruits, just trying to reduce the inflammation. And it's just, knowing like everything is based off of fruits and vegetables. Do you offer, and I was that one that was juicing celery every single morning just to try to like flush out my body. And I also was the one that asked about the fiber, because, either juicing or doing the blending, because, I hear one thing that all the fiber is not good for you, and then you're juicing through. So I guess I have a lot of questions about, which one's more beneficial of healing my body, juicing or blending. And then finding out like, do you have a way of finding out what foods would react to our bodies? Like, I'm at a loss here, because it's like I eat something that I think is healthy and then it's not for me. Like, I don't know. Like, I feel like everything I eat is attacking my body.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, people can definitely have reactions to things, and you can go through a period where, you really like ratchet down what you're eating and then slowly add things back in, like an elimination process to do that. So, that's what I recommend. I don't know if your naturopath is like testing for specific things, but
Yeah.
those allergies can jump around. They can change because your nervous system is dysregulated, which is another story. But as far as juicing or blending, I think both are great. I think it's like, do what's going to get you to actually consume the fruits and vegetables. So if you really like celery juice, do celery juice, right? Like if you like to blend, make banana smoothies, You like both, do both.
Yeah.
I think it's like, it shouldn't be where it's like, oh, I was eating all fruits and vegetables, but I was juicing some of them, and that's why I never got no. People are going to heal on that. So yeah, and if they're excluding fruit, I mean, I'm a big fan of fruit. I think that I think that's that's a mistake. And now there's this whole movement of people who don't want to do vegetables, right? Like the carnivore, like the vegetables bad for you. It's like,
Okay. Yeah. Cause I just was like, I mean, I didn't go through the regular doctor route. I went straight to the naturopath. So I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
this is what's wrong with me. And I'm doing everything I possibly can. And I'm frustrated.
Yeah. Yeah. It sounds like you're not getting results. I mean, I don't know the specifics of everything you're doing.
Yeah.
Like pick it apart and say like, okay, this is probably working, this probably isn't, but maybe we can have a chat like
Okay.
offline sometime.
All right. Thanks.
Absolutely. Okay, let's see. Will this work for Lyme disease? Lyme's a tricky beast, man. Lyme is tough. Sometimes I tend to like, some people get results with this for Lyme, some don't. So it's hard to say, yeah, like definitely Lyme's really, really tricky. Should we give intravenous saline? No, not really a fan of that. I think when you were doing salt water with him, it was actually making him dehydrated, which is affecting his digestion. I think at this point, like it's just about getting the right food in him and letting his body heal. Let's see. What do you do if you're allergic to a lot of good fruits? I mean, Ramsina can answer that one. She's allergic to a lot of stuff, but you work with what you got. And you know, there's hundreds of fruit varieties out there. So, you know, even if you don't like, you know, you can't eat, you know, 6 or 7 of them, there's still plenty of other ones out of there. Okay.
May I respond to that? for a
Sure.
moment? Thank you. One of the things I forgot to mention, it's almost like I need to write all these things down so they're on a card in front of me. I also have histamine intolerance. Okay. With that, I mean, like, honestly, I'm going to say it. A lot of people would not have taken me as a client, but my best friend and now my boss did not hesitate for a moment, Dr. Ben, to take me on because wow, like the banana, okay? If I eat a banana, I start itching like 1,000 fleas bit me. It's really, really bad. And a lot of other things like that too. But we figured it out. We came up with a way to make things work. And we have found the way that it can work. I do a lot of like heating it and you know, well, I also have digestive tract complications as well. So, but like I kind of liquefy things and basically kind of live on liquids. But like for everything that you can't tolerate, there's definitely something that you will be able to tolerate.
Okay, thank you, Ramsey. We got like 10 more questions here, so I'm going to try to respect
Okay.
everybody's time and finish up. I mean, if you guys got to drop off, you got to drop off, but I want to get to everybody's questions here. So Mel says, I don't eat a lot of food and a lot goes bad, and the amount you seems like a lot. How do you know how much you need? Well, that's something you got to figure out based on like, you know, how much you're eating on a daily basis. But I would say err on the side of having a little go bad here and there. It's better than like running out of food and then being hungry and eating something yet you didn't want to eat. So with me, stuff goes bad here and there. It's okay. It reminds me that we're living in abundance and that nature, there's always more. So yeah, I mean, I think it's better to have a little bit go bad than to run out. So that's a good question. What would you be rebuttal with someone who's cured their inflammation with all grass-fed beef diet? Well, they're going to have heart issues down the line, right? Like it's whack-a-mole. They solved one problem, but they caused, you know, like a bunch of other issues. So let's see. Would this help with interstitial lung disease? Whoa, ooh, I don't know. That's a rare one. I can't say. Worth a shot, I suppose, but I can't say for sure. Are supplements involved in the program? No. I mean, I would recommend probably taking like a vitamin B12 supplement, maybe a vitamin D, but no, this is the body heals itself. This is not a supplement game. Okay. So, and like I said, for the call and the course, it's $200, which is a steal. Okay, let's see. Okay, I was like that before. Food sensitivity. Do you consider eggs an inflammatory food? Ooh, yeah, super inflammatory, super inflammatory. Eggs are, if you really dig on the eggs, it's pretty crazy. Like there's most of the science supporting is done by this American Egg Board. They have a huge lobby. But the government has got them to the point where they can't say that they're healthy, can't say that, like, a bunch of things about them, but they have so much money, they can publish so much junk science trying to show that they're healthy, but they're not. Okay. Let's see. Do I have a link for the book? Oh yeah, let's do that. So it's createhealthbook.com. That's easy, right? I'm glad that domain name was available. What about breastfeeding? Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I mean, I'm not sure if you're asking, like, should I not breastfeed my kid and only feed them fruits and vegetables? No. Breast milk is like the best thing, right? So rock on, do all the breast milk you can do. Yeah, heck, I mean, like, I would, if I had a kid and the mother of that kid couldn't make enough breast milk, we'd be getting it from a breast milk bank rather than feeding them formula. So human breast milk for the baby it's intended for, awesome. But if you're older than a baby, you don't need breast milk, especially not from another animal. What? Weird. It's weird. Yeah. So if you're the mom who's breastfeeding, yeah, absolutely. That's going to be the healthiest thing for you, is just cranking on the fruits and vegetables for sure. Okay. Yeah. So Sarah, I think I answered your question. Ooh, that's pretty much it. Okay, guys. Well, I think we'll land the plane there. Thanks everybody. And then you got emails from me. So if you do have questions, like you don't want to like ask in public or whatever, just shoot me an email. And yeah, thanks. And you'll get the replay tomorrow. Share this with anybody. We'll probably do this again maybe next month. Thanks everybody.
Thank you.